Why has beef tallow become so popular in skincare, and how does it all link back to RFK Jr.? I know, jump scare. What is he doing here?
I mean, the answer to that is I don't know.
I truly never thought in all of my days making skincare videos that we would be sitting down and making a video about beef tallow. What? Never in my 29 years of existence, which yes, I did just turn 29. Oh, you think I look young? Stop it. Never did I think that we would be talking about using beef tallow in skincare as a natural DIY alternative, but here we are. Like many things in the world today, I don't know what is going on. What is this world coming to? If you are not aware, one of the recent skincare crazes, particularly on TikTok, is to use beef tallow in skincare as a natural alternative to things like seed oils, as a way to moisturize the skin, prevent premature aging, and of course, avoid all the dreaded toxins in skincare. Yeah, now this has been one of my most requested videos this last year. Every time I go live, people are constantly commenting for what my thoughts are on beef tallow, which by the way, you should definitely follow my brand Selfless by Hiram if you want to catch me on lives every single week. But yeah, I will say I've had a bit of an avoidant relationship with this topic because I don't know. I am very skeptical. But you know what? Let's deep dive into this topic. We're going to react to some TikToks, and the first person we're reacting to is, of course, Nara Smith. I honestly feel really bad about how much I have dogged on Nara Smith. Like, I feel like at this point, I just haven't given the poor girl a break. But you know what? She's always at the scene of the crime when it comes to skincare misinformation. So it's not my fault that she's always there. I don't know.
This morning, my husband
it's her husband again. Oh my God, I'm already getting flashbacks to the DIY sunscreen video.
That he usually uses, and he didn't love it enough to repurchase, so he just decided to make his own. He combined some beef tallow and beeswax in a metal bowl and let that melt over some boiling water. Once everything was melted down, he turned off the heat before he mixed some squalene and jojoba oil, which he poured back into the melted beeswax and beef tallow before giving that a good stir,
Is it going to be fragrance-free?
Heat, and adding the last three things, which was some vitamin E oil, hyaluronic acid, and glycerin. He made sure to give it a mix after adding each ingredient, and at the end just mixed it until it was all combined. Later that night when we got out the shower, we decided to test it. I struggle with eczema and really dry skin, so he didn't add any essential oils, so it would also work for me. We loved it.
Oh my God! I did not think I would be cheering during an Nara Smith video, but wow. Okay, you know what? In the midst of this entire godforsaken conversation, at least there's one win. No essential oils. I'm proud of you, Nara. Now, this video has 3.6 million likes. Like most of Nara Smith's videos, she really has a lot of power and say over what kind of becomes a trend. And this was definitely one of the biggest videos that kind of spearheaded this trend on TikTok of using beef tallow in skincare. Now, I know you're sitting there being like, what the hell is beef tallow? Why are people putting this on their skin? Basically, beef tallow is sourced from like the white fat in a cow, obviously, beef. Basically, that encompasses their kidneys. I don't know cow anatomy that much, but that's the best I can give you. Now, here's the thing. Beef tallow itself has a bunch of fats and nutrients that are actually quite beneficial to the skin. I mean, it has oleic acid, stearic acid, which are ingredients that are commonly found in skincare products and can be really beneficial for deeply nourishing and moisturizing the skin. But because these oils are organically sourced from a cow, they actually are quite similar to our skin's oils and kind of mimic the way our face and skin oils operate. And I just have some questions about who the hell figured that out. It's like how we discovered milk is drinkable. Why do we have to be doing all this weird stuff with cows? Maybe we should just leave them alone. But there's also a lot of claims out there that beef tallow is rich in vitamins like vitamin A, vitamin D, and that it also has the ability to reduce redness, inflammation, and irritation in the skin. Now, a lot of these benefits that people claim beef tallow has for the skin are actually quite similar to the benefits that you find in seed oils and standard moisturizing agents that are found in pretty much every moisturizer out there. But I really think that the big appeal to beef tallow itself, as opposed to other common moisturizing agents that you would find in skincare, is that you can DIY it. The DIY skincare community as a whole is very distrusting of chemists and the scientific approach towards skincare and much prefers to do it all yourself. And apparently people are seeing great results using it. And I want to watch some videos of like transformations because I haven't seen any yet. I'm quite skeptical, but you know what? The proof is in the pudding and I want to see if it actually transformed people's skin.
This is beef fat, aka beef tallow. I have been using it on my acne for the past week, and
is that DIY?
a lot of you guys have been asking me for that update, so here's a little quick update on how it is going so far. This is what my acne looks like the first day I used beef tallow, and this is how it looks like today. You cannot see a big difference, but I feel like I got more pimples, especially on my chin area. This side is more obvious because look at this, it was like clearing up and everything, and now I got more pimple, like especially this one pimple hurts a lot. Like at first I wasn't super sure if beef tallow was causing the breakout. I stopped using all the skincare at night and only use beef tallow, and next morning I keep getting new pimples. Should have known, guys, but I just wanted to give it a try. So we're gonna stop using it, and hopefully we'll find more solutions in the future, so stay tuned.
Okay, you know what? I am so glad that's the first video I reacted to. Not because it's confirming my underlying opinion on beef tallow. Okay, I want to be as unbiased as possible. However, we got to talk about the side effects because there are so many people, particularly within the DIY community, that are touting beef tallow to be like the most amazing thing for the skin, the ultra natural way to clear up your skin and get that glow on. But in reality, there's a lot of side effects to using beef tallow. The first being is that it is absolutely terrible for anyone who is struggling with active acne, breakouts, blocked pores, or anyone who has struggled with that in the past, because beef tallow is comedogenic, which is basically a fancy word of saying that it blocks your pores, and it becomes a breeding pool for things like acne and breakouts. And this is one of my biggest gripes and complaints when it comes to the DIY community, is that so many of the ingredients that they tout as being super good for the skin, like coconut oil, cocoa butter, beeswax, or beef tallow, are all extremely comedogenic. Which, don't get me wrong, some of these ingredients can be beneficial for, say, people who have really dry skin, but only when they've been properly filtered in a lab to remove the comedogenic properties. If you're just using raw beef tallow, raw coconut oil, it's not properly processed to remove those comedogenic properties, which means your likelihood of struggling with increased breakouts and acne just goes up the wazoo. And I think she is the perfect example of the type of person who should absolutely not be using beef tallow, because that's one of the primary, if not the main downside of using an ingredient like beef tallow. Okay, let's watch more.
Recently, I had the worst breakout of my entire life, and it was so traumatic. As my skin started to heal, I tried beef tallow as I heard so many good things about it. I used the Base Balm All Natural Sunscreen every single day to avoid hyperpigmentation. Their products were perfect since I cut out all chemicals from my skincare routine. And I used this to prevent hyperpigmentation. As you saw, my breakout was so bad. And here, my skin was healing every single day. It was doing so much better. I also was using their signature balm, which is beef tallow. I use this every single night, and this is my skin now 3 weeks later, only 3 weeks later, and look at how beautifully it has healed. With how bad my breakout was, I should have had the worst scars ever, but no, my skin healed beautifully.
I mean, I can't ignore that transformation. It is very impressive. It looks like she has a lot of blocked pores, specifically like whiteheads and active breakouts on her skin. I just gotta say, I did not realize that that was going to, I don't know for sure if it was sponsored, but it definitely was monetized in the sense that she was dropping her discount code. So with the way that people don't disclose sponsorships on TikTok, it could very well be sponsored. However, the results are impressive. And this is where I always want to be fair when it comes to skincare ingredients or skincare transformations, in saying that everyone's skin is different. Sometimes things that are objectively not great for your skin can result in good skin results. Everyone responds differently, and sometimes something that will make someone break out will completely heal someone else's skin. That, however, does not justify or explain away research or lack thereof showing the potential harm of an ingredient like beef tallow, which brings me to the next downside or potential side effect of using beef tallow. If you use it, there is a higher risk of you having an allergic reaction or skin sensitivity because of it. And there's a bunch of reasons why, but the main ones being it's a naturally animal-sourced ingredient that is not properly processed or approved for skin topical use. In the same way raw coconut oil is approved for cooking but not for topical use, beef tallow is the same, which means you are exposing your skin to a bunch of unknown risks that could really contribute to any allergens, skin sensitivity, or irritation that you might be experiencing. Here's the thing, because beef tallow is an animal-sourced and naturally sourced ingredient, it actually can turn bad or rancid relatively quickly unless it is not in a proper environment that is suited to keeping it stable. aka a specific temperature, refrigeration, whatever it may be. When you're dealing with something like literal raw animal fat, the pace as to which it will go bad and turn rancid is way faster than any skincare product out there. But another reason why it can go bad so quickly, and especially if you're making your own skincare concoction, is that you're not using any preservatives in order to protect the formula. Now, I know, everyone in the DIY skincare community talks about how preservatives are so bad, but in reality, preservatives are protecting your skin from having severe allergic or sensitizing reactions and keeping the formula stable. And when you compare the reactions that you can have from using a raw ingredient like beef tallow to the extremely rare reactions that you can have to a very small concentration of a preservative, I mean, there's just no comparison, which is why it can be so risky to use a natural raw animal derived ingredient, because it doesn't have those protecting chemicals to ensure that your skin isn't going to have a really bad reaction. And the third reason why beef tallow can be so sensitizing and irritating to the skin is that you're dealing with a whole cacophony of other factors that are exclusively present from an animal derived ingredient. I'm talking hormones, antibiotics, pesticides, all these things that are commonly used in a lot of animal factories across the USA or across the world can be stored in animal fat. And if they are, you're applying those things directly to your skin, which can throw your skin way over the edge and cause skin reactions that are far worse than what you would get from a properly tested chemist designed skincare formula. Unfortunately, the world we live in, it really is impossible to go all the way down the supply chain to find out how animals are treated, what types of medications they're being given, the type of environment that they're exposed to, which is why I would say, unless you're sourcing it from your own cow in your backyard, it's really a guessing game when it comes to what you're exposing your skin to. So just sit back and take a second to think about how all these side effects compare to skincare ingredients that are formulated in a lab that go through proper and rigorous testing, formulated by chemists who have devoted their life to studying these things, FDA testing and approval. While this system may not be perfect, it is far more safe than using an ingredient like beef tallow that has a plethora of potential skin risks. Damn, she's using it straight from the bowl. Okay. Okay. Love that she's shouting that out. Okay. Okay, you know what? I actually really appreciate the angle that she took. I believe that she is a clinician who makes like beauty content. And even though she was using it on her skin, she was talking about all the potential risks and who it's really intended for and which type of skin would benefit most from it. And honestly, if the conversation was as nuanced as she is presenting it in her video, I wouldn't have as big of an issue with not only beef tallow, but just the entire DIY skincare community as a whole. While there are benefits for certain skin types, she very clearly displays how it may not work for people who have acne prone skin, the downsides of you smelling like literal beef, difficulty to remove, etc., etc. I actually really appreciate that. So one of my biggest gripes with beef tallow and skincare as well is that there's just not a lot of research on it, which when it comes to anything that we're applying to our face, I think call me crazy, that we should be using things on our face that have a good amount of research backing up their actual effectiveness. Because I just find it so ironic that for a community that is constantly talking about toxins, health, invisible damage, for them to be using an ingredient like beef tallow that has very limited to no research behind it, instead of using plant-based oils that have so much research to back them up. That is just a level of irony that is really hard for me to comprehend. I don't get it. But let's react to a professional. I have a video from Dr. Dre next, and I'm really interested to hear her take because she always has such good, unbiased, scientific approach to all of crazy skincare fads.
Many of you have tagged me in this DIY moisturizer. Now, starting off with beeswax and of course beef tallow, super trendy right now. Listen, there's nothing wrong per se with these ingredients. They are moisturizing. They do help reduce water loss, adding a little jojoba and squalane oil as emollients, vitamin E as an antioxidant. These things are components of effective moisturizers. The one issue you can run into with making your own skincare products is there's not a good preservative system, so you do risk potential contamination. And many cases, they do end up putting essential oils in these to mask the odor of the beef tallow.
So glad that
I know she specifically said they did not. The essential oils can end up being irritating, so just be aware of that. But Nara Smith aside, let's go to the comments, because I about died when I saw this. La Roche-Posay is taking notes? Taking notes on what?
What? Oh my god, that is fucking hilarious. I love that she just has no issue calling them out, because yeah, the fuck CeraVe and La Roche-Posay. I am confusion. Oh man, that just made me lose a little bit of faith in La Roche-Posay. I think that call out was well warranted. I'm actually kind of surprised that Dr. Dre didn't go harder on this, because normally she's very anti-DIY skincare, but I will say I, feel similarly to her in the sense that the recipe that Nara Smith and her husband created was actually, in terms of a lot of DIY skincare out there, pretty non-irritating and basically the best you could do. But typically she has a pretty staunch and strict approach when it comes to the lack of preservatives in formula, as well as like this natural skincare community as a whole, which she didn't really deep dive into. But if you've watched any of her YouTube videos, you know that she comes for their throats. She does not play. But I want to listen to another dermatologist talk about this.
Beef tallow is often used for cooking, but should you be using this on your skin? Here's what board certified dermatologist wants you to know. Beef tallow has become really popular on social media. Many people are saying that it's a natural and cheap way to treat acne and dry skin and other skin conditions. But dermatologists do caution against using beef tallow instead of proven skincare products like moisturizers and acne treatments. While limited evidence suggests that there may be some moisturizing capabilities for beef tallow, further evidence is needed to demonstrate any potential skin benefits. For those with acne-prone skin, beef tallow can worsen acne by trapping oil in the skin. And while the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, or the FDA, does regulate beef tallow as a food, putting this on your skin can result in an allergic or irritation reaction. And if stored improperly, beef tallow can become contaminated with bacteria. But most importantly of all, never use beef tallow instead of sunscreen.
Yeah. Are people using beef tallow as a sunscreen alternative? Yeah, I mean, I could not agree more. She hit all of the points as to why, this is just not a great idea. Upholding a skincare fad or ingredient that really doesn't have a lot of benefits, that has a high risk for irritation and sensitivity, and has no research backing it up. Why can't we have these trends be focused around actual effective research-driven ingredients? I don't get it. But thinking about all this really made me question, where did this trend come from? How did it really start? I know that Nara Smith definitely popularized it, but when did this become a new fad that everyone in the DIY community started adopting? And my God, I wish I did not look. For once in my life, I actually regret doing research, because guess who this all comes down to? All sources back to our beloved RFK Jr. Sorry, I get nauseous when I have to say his name. Ugh. But yes, in his onslaught of misinformation that he is forcing upon the American public, he tweeted out in October 21st, 2024, Americans should have every right to eat out at a restaurant without being unknowingly poisoned by heavily subsidized seed oils. And with that, he posted, it's time to make frying oil tallow again. It got almost 10 million views. Love that. And listen, this is not a diet or nutrition channel. I am by no means an expert, but when you actually listen to the experts, aka the people who have devoted their lives to studying these issues and topics, like Lisa Young, a nutritionist and NYU professor, for example, she says people are blaming the seed oils when that's not what's toxic, it's the sugar and salt in the junk food that they're using. Similarly, Dr. Dariush Mosafarian, who's a cardiologist and also head of the Food is Medicine Institute at Tufts University, said, the concern around seed oils is really a distraction, and we need to be focusing on the real problems, which are overdoses of refined grains, starches, sugars, salt, and other preservatives, chemical additives, and contaminants from packaging. The irony is that beef tallow, when compared to seed oils, has about 50% more of the bad cholesterol that we try to avoid when it comes to taking care of our health. And a review in the journal Circulation that took a look at 13 different studies of over 300,000 people found that, quote, replacing just 5% of calories calories from animal-sourced saturated fats with vegetable oils, seeds, and nuts was associated with a 9% lower risk of heart disease and a 13% lower risk of death from heart disease. So newsflash, surprise, surprise, RFK Jr. is spreading misinformation and harmful stereotypes about seed oils and beef tallow. And unsurprisingly, this kickstarted the movement of using beef tallow in skincare and avoiding all those toxic poisoning seed oils, and of course evolved into this huge mainstream trend. Which is the final thing that I want to call out when it comes to beef tallow, but also just the natural skincare, DIY skincare community. A lot of people don't recognize it, but the constant misinformation that is circulating within the natural skincare community does not exist in a vacuum. And unfortunately, this community is a slippery slope into dangerous misinformation that RFK Jr. promotes, and the same misinformation that resulted in the administration that we are suffering under today. I think this is the perfect example of how communities like the DIY skincare community are so easily co-opted by extremist conservative groups. And I think it's really important that we call this out, because I think a lot of people are subscribing to these content creators who are promoting, like natural skincare, which seems really innocent and fun, but can very quickly go from solely misinformation around skincare to health misinformation, political misinformation. And before people know it, them finding themselves within these extremist groups. Not to make it political, but unfortunately it is. And it's really sad to see how something as seemingly innocent as skincare is pushing people in this direction. And I just want to call that out so that you guys can be aware to make sure that you're constantly doing research when it comes to these topics, not just for skincare ingredients, but also health misinformation. It's so important that you diversify your information streams, that you listen to professionals, to researchers, to people who have devoted their lives to these topics, and not just to a one-off content creator or RFK Jr. Believe it or not. Whew, I know I got really deep at the end, but that about sums up my thoughts when it comes to beef tallow in skincare. And as a final statement, while I recognize that some people can have positive results when using beef tallow, I would not recommend it to the general public. And I think there still needs to be a lot of research behind it before it's something I would ever recommend using in skincare products. But what do you guys think? I want to hear your guys' opinions. Have you used beef tallow in skincare before? Did you see any positive results? Or what do you think about this natural DIY skincare community and how so much of this trend was spearheaded by RFK Jr. of all people? I really want to hear what your opinions are. Just as always, please be respectful. Let me know if you guys want me to talk about another trend like this. I'm so appreciative of everyone who is commenting what my thoughts were on this trend, because I would love to make more videos like this in the future. And if you guys haven't already, be sure to subscribe to my channel and to the notification bell so that you can see my videos every single week. And I will see you guys in the next one. Mwah.